This time we're going to try our luck at a ground takeoff. It's got pretty nice little main landing gear on it. But I'm having a hard time, obviously, keeping it straight on this dirt path, this rough dirt road. But we got it in the air finally before we ran out of dirt. Alright, so I've got it in fully stabilized mode right now, and then we'll be putting it into manual mode. I tested out 3D mode in the maiden flight, and I don't really care for the 3D mode all that much. It seems like it fights me part of the time, and it doesn't seem like the controls are symmetrical like when you're doing a roll to the left or roll to the right, but it seems to handle very, very well in manual mode. And I haven't had any problems doing aerobatics and things with it in manual mode. So if I'm not just cruising around or flying in a lot of wind or something, I like flying it in manual mode. Alright, I think we're switching into manual mode now. Yep, we certainly are. Okay, so yeah, it's a lot easier. This is a double loop, a big wide loop to begin with, and then a shorter or tighter loop, and then a roll to the left. And it seems like everything handles much better in manual mode as opposed to 3D mode. It almost seems like the controls are kind of muted in 3D mode. And so the controls are a lot more authoritative. There's a kind of a weird split S maneuver. A little more authoritative in manual mode. So that's why I like it, and it seems to be more predictable, I guess I would say, in manual mode than in 3D mode. And I did something weird there. I can't remember what I did. If I hit the rudder at the same time, to cause that tumble through the air. And there's another decent sized loop. So as you could see, for a 1S power system, it has adequate power. It's not a powerhouse, but it has adequate power, and you can do aerobatics with it fairly easy in manual mode. I think it's a little bit harder in 3D mode because it's a little less predictable, but just a pretty good handling little plane considering how light it is. I did have a little bit of wind out there when I was flying it. I think my all-up weight on this is like 98 grams, less than 100 grams. So very lightweight plane. But doesn't that, look at that, doesn't that handle pretty nice? It's a great looking airframe. So I think I'm going to put a few more flights on it before I decide to do anything drastic with it. I'm still trying to get it all tuned out. So once I get it all tuned out, if it looks like it's going to be a really good airframe, then I will probably convert this over to a 2S system, because I really love the look of the airframe. So if I can get it handling as well as it looks, I'll definitely convert it to 2S. But I think it makes, in 6G mode, fully stabilized mode, it's a very predictable plane. It flies very, very well. It's very stable. I think it would make a very good beginner plane. It's going to be able to take some punishment at, just 98 grams of weight, and it doesn't have a lot of mass, a lot of momentum when it hits the ground. So, and I've been pretty rough on it out here, and coming in and doing a touch and go here. And I definitely wasn't easy on the landing gear doing these touch and goes. Sometimes I'd hit the ground pretty hard and come back off of it, and I never had a problem with it. I really like the landing gear that they have on here, the main landing gear. I don't care for the tail wheel. It's one of those solid plastic things, which I think is the reason it was hard to take off in the dirt, is because the little hard plastic wheel in the back just would not keep it straight. It was constantly spinning around. and it's fairly inexpensive. I'll have links to everything in the show notes, but I think that I think I had this delivered to my door for like $87. So, given what it is, there we go. All right, we'll see if we can take off from the ground again. For what it is, and as much fun as I'm having with it, I think $87 is a pretty good price. There we go. And I think mine came with two batteries, I think. Maybe just one, I can't remember. But I'll have links in the show notes to the plane, and I will have links in the show notes to additional props. It actually has a standard 5mm hub prop. So I'll have links to spare props. I'll have links to spare batteries, the ones that I use in it, and of course a link to the plane. So look for those in the show notes. I think it's a pretty darn fun plane for the price. Almost ran out of dirt there. That was a bad landing. So let's see if we can put it in the air one more time and get a little better landing out of it. This is just my second flight, so I'm still learning the plane, you know. But man, is that a beauty, or is that a beauty? And I love that fire engine red color. It makes it really visible in the air. Alright, see if we can get a little better landing this time. Oh, there we go. Now that was a short landing. And we'll see if we can taxi back up. It's a little bit smoother area right there than where I was taking off from the ground. Just too many big rocks. Yeah, so that worked out pretty good. If you're on a fairly smooth surface, you're not going to have any problems taking off from the ground with this plane. But everything will be linked in the pinned comment below the video. That's a wrap on this episode. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the air.